everyone. Happy whatever day you're seeing this video, and it's so nice to have you here. Today we are going to be looking at the second part of the series Building Your Family System. If you saw the last week's video, you know that the text for this series is write a vision, make it plain, that he who readeth it may run. Untitled Chapter 2 verse 2. I would like to plead with you and to urge you that if you've not seen the last video, you go see it after this video, or you could actually go watch that before this. Last week, we treated write a vision, and we talked about the fact that for you to be able to write a vision, you need to see, after which you need to believe that which you've seen. Now that you've written down your vision, I want to believe that you know where you're going to, which is very, very important. So now it brings me to the next question for you, which says, how are you going to get there? Because the how is very, very important to fulfilling your vision. So now, make it plain, meaning map it out, simplify it and make it actionable. Actionable steps that you can actually take to fulfilling your vision, to getting to that place you want to be. Which brings me to the subtopics today: goals, objectives, and core values. So somebody is thinking, wow, in family too, I think it's just businesses that have goals, objectives, and core values. It's not so. The thing is, goals actually guide your focus, and your energy flows wherever your focus is. And that's why you can be so amazing. You can be an amazing person and yet still not do good in parenting, because wherever your focus is where your energy flows. So if your focus is not on your family, if your focus is on your business and your business alone, then you tend to focus more on your business, leaving your family to suffer. And that's why today we'll be talking about how to set your goals, your objectives, and your core values as a family. Now let's talk about values. Now that you know where your family is going to, there is a need that you set a value system, more like a belief system for your family. As a family, what do you believe in? What do you consider right? What do you consider wrong? And the truth is, whether you like it or not, if you don't set the values you want for your family, then unconsciously you still pass something to them. So what are you passing? Dishonesty? Are you passing untruthfulness or unfaithfulness? And that's why there is a need that now you set your values. You set that thing that you believe in. So now, as Joy's family, as Gloria's family, you know what you stand for. Even when the outside world sees you, sees your family, they get to have an idea of what your value system is. And that's why you see that every organization have their core values, what they believe in, what they stand for. So what do you stand for? What do you believe in? In setting your core values, there are lots of things and lots of questions that you need to ask yourself. Please do not mind that I'm looking down. I'm just trying to read out to you those things, those questions that you need to ask as a family. But before I continue, I need to stretch this, that you need to live your values as parents, because your children now are not going to imbibe that value system if they don't see it in you, if they don't see that you live it as a lifestyle. Because for children now, it's more of do as I do and not do as I say. So now you must be very, very intentional and conscious as parents that you live your value system. You can't be a parent gossiping. You can't be a parent backbiting and talking about other people in very bad way and say you stand for integrity. Most importantly, you need to be very, very sure that the value system that you create or set is founded on the truth. Because the truth is, it would not be nice that after years your children now find out that the thing that they believed in all their lives is actually founded on lies. So you need to be very, very intentional about making sure that the values that you set is founded on the truth. So you need to ask yourself these questions. Now, the questions now are in part A, part B, and part C. So whosoever is getting this information today, try as much as possible to ask yourself this particular question and answer it as an individual. If it is the father now, the part A question, answer it as an individual. Tell your spouse also to answer this particular part A question as an individual. The first question is, take some time and list as many values as you can that you would like to instill in the life of your children, that you would like to instill in your children. List them out. Know what those values are. Then the second is, out of the list, design your top 5 core values in order of priority. Then the next is, reflect on your lifestyle and how you spend your time. How well does your life reflect your core values? It is so important. Now that you have the list of core values that you would like to consciously instill in the life of your children, it is very, very important that now you reflect. Does my life reflect these core values that I'm trying to instill in my children? Because at the end of the day, the values that they will get is the one that I live and not the one that I tell them to live. Then, this leads me to the part B. As an individual now, father and mother, you separately answered this part A questions, and now you will be coming together now to talk about it, to reflect about your answers, to ask yourself certain questions, which is 1 for part B. Share your answers from part 1. In what areas do you agree or disagree with each other conclusions? What are the different? Talk about you and what you need for balance. Now, as the father, as the mother, now you're coming together as parents, you're coming together as one to decide on what you want for your family. So now, from the different answers that you have from the questions that you've answered, come together. Try to strike a balance. So what are you not agreeing with in the other person's answer? And try as much as possible to talk about it and decide on a particular thing for balance. So now the both of you now, from your questions, from the list of core values that you've planned to instill in your children, now that you've come together, you've agreed, you've disagreed, meaning that you've decided to work on the list now, and together you will choose what you think is best for your family. This is for part B. Then now define a unified top 10 core values, list in order of priority. Then the third is, from that list, choose the value that you think you would need to consider as you look at different schooling choices. And this is it. From your core values, you need to look at the educational aspect, you need to look at the financial aspect, you need to look at the spiritual aspect, you need to look at the emotional aspect. Because as parents, you are guides. You are guides to your children, and doing this is just more of seeing into these particular areas and making sure that whatever values you're creating is actually good and is founded on the truth and is good for your children to work on. Because the journey is just more like a path. It's just more like a path, and you're trying as much as possible and as parents to walk your children through the right path. Which leads me to the fourth thing to do is close with prayer. Close with prayers. Please do not leave that table. Do not leave that deliberation table on your core values without praying. Because at the end of the day, you receive strength from God to carry out all these, to live your values even as parents, and to help you to instill the values that God will have you instill in your children. So more like you're trying to instill the mind of the Father to your children. Please, as parents now, come together, decide, choose what is best, and pray. And pray. Very, very important. Then this leads me to the third part of this, of creating your core values, of setting your core values, which is select one of your top 10 core values that is not a strength for your child. So now you've created your core values. Presently, just check with the life of your child. Do you think that this particular value now, your child is living it already? Or do you think they are weak in these areas? This is just so you know how to help your children out in those areas where it feels like they are weak. And just to help them out, to grow them in that area so that they can come out strong in that area that you want them to come out strong in. Then the third one is, what are you doing right now to model and teach this value to your child? How well does your life reflect these core values? Just like I said earlier. Then the third is, write down your thoughts about your children's personality, behavioral style, and various strengths and weaknesses, and how this might affect how you teach and model this value to them. The truth is, every child have their different behavioral patterns, have different styles, have different ways of learning, they have different personalities, and you need to be very, very careful as parents while you try to instill this value system in them. You know, you might actually be doing this in different ways for different child. Try to understand your children, try to understand their personality, and this will help you to create ways in which you model these core values to your children. Please, this is very, very important. Then this leads me to the fourth one under the part C. What influence outside your home are helping or hindering your children as they learn this value? So now try to look at the environment. What environment are you in? What are those things that might influence the decision or influence this value system in your children? There is a need that you know these things now, so that when you're trying to instill this value system in your children, you can as well teach them from whatever the environment is trying to bring to them, just so that you might be able to pass this value across to them rightly, because it is so important how your children conceive this value that you're trying to instill in them. Then 5, what ideas do you have for helping your child live by this core value? Please, there is a caution to this. Don't limit your ideas to discipline or negative reinforcement. So now you're trying to look for ideas in helping your child to live by this core value. Please don't try to leave these ideas to discipline. Okay, so now I'm going to beat him or her to stupor if he doesn't live this value, or if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't do that. Please try as much as possible to make instilling this value come from a place of relationship and not from a place of authority. It is so important that your child sees from the place of love, sees from the place of you wanting good for them. Because if you now start wanting to bring in the old discipline thing into it, it might be an issue. So try as much as possible to balance this. Do not try to see punishment as the only way of making your children live by these values that you've set. The last thing I'm going to tell us today under core values, the last question you need to ask is, what are the 3 things you want to start doing this week in order to begin instilling your core values in your child? Yes, what are you going to start doing now? Now, N-O-W, because at the end of the day, it is in the doing that you get the result. It is in the doing now that you get the result. Do not procrastinate this. Try as much as possible to start now in instilling those core values, and ask yourself, how can I start instilling these values now to my children? And this brings me to the end of you setting your core values, I am definitely sure that by the time you answer all these questions that have been listed out to you, that the Holy Spirit will help you to draft out, to coin out the mind of God, for your family, and values that will help you in achieving your goals. If you're seeing this now and you've inherited a bad core value from your family, if you feel that a negative value system has been passed to you, please, I would like you to consciously share these values. Consciously share them, because if you're not careful, these core values would show and will be passed to your children, and will be passed to your family. So you need to now consciously start shedding those values that you see that have been negatively passed in one way or the other, maybe through your parents or through your society or through the outside world. Please try as much as possible to start shedding them now, just so that what you're trying to do or what you're trying to instill in your children would be possible. And also to give you examples of core values, you might be thinking, okay, so what are examples? There are spiritual values, there are financial values, there are relational values, there are cultural values, there are personal development values. So depending on the one you want, it might be our family is forgiving, full of hope. It might be law-abiding, that's for cultural and civic values. Law-abiding, it might be friendly, it might be disciplined, it might be trustworthy, it might be teachable. So this is just to give you an idea of the values that are available, just so that you might choose from it. And also to let you know that in case you would be needing a workbook, a guide and a workbook to doing this, it will be available soon. Just check this space. You will be able to get a guide and a workbook that you could actually work all these into in trying to get in trying to set your values right. Just check this space, which leads me to the next one, which is goals and objectives. Every family should take certain goals and objectives seriously, because goals will help you focus. The goal is to guide your focus. It is very, very important, because your energy flows through your focus. Your energy flows through your focus, and that is why you can be a very amazing person. You can be an amazing individual and yet still be so bad at parenting, because whatever you focus on is where you channel your energy to. So if you focus so much on your business that you forget about your family, then you leave your family lacking. And that's why it's important that you balance your business life, balance your financial, your social, your emotional, and your family life. It is so important. And that's why today I'll be telling us on how to set your goals.